for joining us. I would like actually to start with a question for you. So you have been a prominent figure in Abu Dhabi for innovation, for change in the entire industry. We heard a lot about the concept of smart building, intelligent building, digital buildings. We heard this morning this very interesting presentation. I would like to ask you your own definition of the word smart in Abu Dhabi when we talk about smart buildings.
Yes, smart building. We started in, you talk about smart building, is always we were talking about building who can, deliver connected buildings, building that can, bring more safety, how we can connect building together. And that started it maybe 10 years ago when UAE or Abu Dhabi started it with a project of Hassantuk, for example, how to connect all of these buildings together, how to make sure all these buildings are in a way connected that can be safe. And in the case of emergency, they have a first line of responding in the best way possible. That was 10 years ago in 2007 or 5, we started it, 15. And that's when the starting building of this, how to make these buildings are connected and smart.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. We discussed also this morning a lot about the rise of AI. AI is a game changer. AI is a game changer everywhere, in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, in the world, in each and every industry. In the context of smart buildings, digital buildings, I would like to ask you, Mr. Sudhi, your vision of how AI becomes a game changer and a key differentiators in the way buildings are managed today.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. A great question. Building upon what Mr. Lari just said, so smart buildings has been around for a long time, even though the number of smart buildings which we could truly call as connected is still very small. It's growing very rapidly, but it's still very small. One fascinating fact is that even if we take just the amount of connected buildings around in the world, that generates 35,000 times more data than the data generated annually by all the meta platforms, which includes Facebook, Instagram, and others. So there is a tremendous amount of data which is getting generated by smart buildings. And within smart buildings, it's domains like the energy, but also fire and life safety, which are frankly somewhat more critical than energy, because energy is more related to availability and cost, whereas fire and life safety, it's much more serious in that sense. But it's not just that the amount of data, it's also the velocity at which the data gets generated and captured. It's the variability of the data, it's the viability of the data, and it's we talked about the volume. So when we are dealing with so much of data, and we are dealing with an environment where we end up spending a lot of our time, more than 80% of our lives are spent inside of buildings. And if we look at globally, more than 40% of the energy consumption happens inside of buildings. So this is where we spend our lives. This is what's critical for, from a resources standpoint, from a cost standpoint. So experiences and outcomes matter. And to deal with this complexity, we need capabilities like AI. And that's where AI starts to play a role when it comes to smart buildings.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And when we think about these platforms that are connected, bringing tremendous amount of data and being able to leverage AI on top of it, I imagine quite easily the ability to deploy this type of platforms in new projects, new buildings. We spoke also this morning about retrofitting old buildings. I would like to ask you, Mr. Ibrahim, how do you see this concept applied to the thousands of buildings that we have in Abu Dhabi, and how we can make them smarter, more intelligent by adopting AI technology without having to start everything again in terms of building management and IoT setup?
Yes, and that's why exactly what you mentioned is that today, with the technology that's evolved today, with the amount of technology that we have, the AI, the IoT, the platform that get evolved, you don't need to start. I mean, okay, it's very good and very smart to start If you can start the buildings from the day one, from construction, putting all the infrastructure in it, that's an easy part of it. But today, exactly like I mentioned, we have thousands and thousands of buildings that they are old, but still, we can retrofit it in a way that you don't need to spend too much financially on that one, but at the same time, make it smart in terms of the being available in terms of the emergency, and at the same time, make it also for environmental and make it energy saving. Therefore, today, with today's technology, we have done it. We are doing so many buildings today in the market that today we are transforming these buildings to become smart in terms of the energy and safety.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. I take the opportunity to share with the audience and really recommend this great book that both of you have been co-writing, so Safety 5.0 and the Rise of AI in the world of safety, the age of AI when it comes to smart technologies and building management. I read it very carefully and recommend everyone to grab a copy of the book, which is here on the podium. I've been also told that signed copies can be made available, and you have the authors in front of you. One thing that is very striking is on chapter 5, there is this concept of safety posture and the way to measure the safety posture against 5 different criteria, which are materials, systems, policies, processes, and practices. Sudhi, I would like to ask you a question about the usability of such a framework to ensure that in Abu Dhabi, buildings can also not just deploy AI capabilities, but continuously measure their efficiency and safety score in a way.
Thank you, Malik. As Mr. Ibrahim said earlier, right? So Abu Dhabi is one of the leading countries in the world when it comes to taking a safety posture and leading with technology in driving that safety posture. The 5 dimensions that you mentioned, which are in one of the chapters, it's essentially trying to bring a holistic 360 view on what contributes to safety. Because we can have, as we heard in the presentation from NFPA earlier, right? They didn't put in the systems, right? Because it would have damaged some fabric. But if there is a safety incident, it's not just the fabric; it's the whole church. It's an international global monument which is at risk, right? Or the incidents we heard in many other places. So it's really a combination of technology, processes, operations, what materials are being used, what systems are in place, and it's that rigor. So it essentially, with the technology available today and policies that Abu Dhabi and the UAE are driving and that the whole world can learn from, is creating that single pane of a unified 360 view so that we can not only monitor it and measure it, but we can also be very proactive in our maintenance processes, in our operations, in our safe deployment of environments. That's the whole intent of trying to bring this ecosystem together.
So basically with the state of the art in terms of technology, the ability to aggregate this tremendous amount of information, leverage AI to treat this information, the level of intelligence in the building is not just to monitor the current state of safety, but also to intelligently recommend what's next through the digital posture and safety posture. Ibrahim, I would like to ask you the question as an expert in this field. Once you have your digital score or safety posture score for a decision maker in Abu Dhabi, what would be, from your perspective, the next best set of actions? So if we say, for example, the next 2-3 months, what would you recommend people to do when it comes to bringing a better safety posture in Abu Dhabi, leveraging these technologies?
Today, we have proved that with the technology that's available, with the way that we do a setup, that we could deploy many buildings in a very short period of time. Today, we had and continue having challenges. Or there are last week, for example, we were discussing with one of the pioneer owner of the buildings, for example, in Dubai. They have challenges in terms of, for example, false alarm. They have today. We are talking about the issues that they have with the dust or the humidity and that's to fix it. It sometimes takes a long time but today with the AI, with the technology that we have, this could be done easily and very efficient in time. Today with the predictive maintenance that we have, with the predictive analysis that we have with this in the systems, that you don't have to wait until the alarm goes off. But the systems that we are deploying today, that it predicts that when this alarm could go off because of the dust increasing, or we have an issue with the humidity or other problems, and give you a predictive time that you can go and fix the problem rather than wait until the alarm goes off and disturb everybody else. Therefore, the deployment, and today we have done many buildings in the UAE and outside UAE that we are deploying it in a very short time and very efficient, and it becoming a very effective.
Thank you very much. So basically, ability to execute very fast and the ability to scale as well this technology in a great sense. We spoke a lot about safety and the ability to use AI for better safety posture. Since a few years, since COP28 in the UAE in particular, sustainability becomes a pressing concern, a key priority for many decision makers. Sudhi, I would like to ask you, how do you see sustainability fitting into this journey to an intelligent safety?
Thank you, Malik. Great question again. To me, safety and sustainability are two very interrelated topics. They are different domains, they are different topics, but they are very interrelated. And I'll come to it from a couple of different lenses. Any safety system today uses a lot of resources that are concerns from a sustainability consideration. For example, water, even though there is a lot of water, but usable water for suppression systems requires treatment, especially in countries like UAE or more broadly in Middle East and many other parts of the world, right? So usage of water and reuse of that gray water coming out of the suppression systems is a concern, right? Which is a sustainability concern. Similarly, the chemicals and the materials being used in some of these detection and suppression systems are also a concern from a sustainability standpoint. But if you flip the coin on the other side, there is a lot of introduction of technology and materials driven by sustainability considerations that also cause safety risks, and they change the safety posture. For example, now you can start to see more buildings with integrated solar PV panels into the facade of the building. And they look nice. And they add a lot of value from the sustainability standpoint. But they exponentially increase the sustainability posture of the building. Or battery storage solutions that we are increasingly seeing at homes or in commercial facilities. What's happening with data centers? Data centers with the extreme densification of power and voltage, and resulting from the densification of compute coming from the semiconductors. Huge safety risks, right? And there is a big sustainability consideration for data centers as well because of the power consumption they are taking. So to me, safety and sustainability have to be looked at hand in hand. And that's also one of the things that we talk extensively about in the book. Right? They cannot be looked in isolation.
Thank you very much, Sudhi. Throughout the discussion, we saw how AI and the trajectory of Abu Dhabi when it comes to innovation is really a converging force for smart buildings and digital buildings. The applicability to the existing buildings and retrofitting options, the importance of measuring constantly the maturity, the posture, the score, and the action plan that goes with it. In this context, I would like to ask you both one closing question, which is, what is your vision of the future of Abu Dhabi when it comes to building safety and overall sustainability management? So maybe I'll start with you, Ibrahim, based on your experience and vision for the future.
Like as I mentioned again, even in the keynote, that what's happening today, the AI, the way the AI is coming into our life, in our business, it's changing everything. And today, UAE in general, and particularly Abu Dhabi, they are emphasizing on the latest technology to be available and how to bring all the technologies into Abu Dhabi. Today, we are going to build, or Abu Dhabi started building a 5 gigawatt of data center. That's never been done before in that scale, in that fast period. The amount of the energy that required to power these data centers is huge. Therefore, they're going to build again the solar farm that's going to generate that 5 gigawatt of power. Therefore, all of these are the latest technology that's coming in. Of course, these are challenges come with it, and that's why we are today using the AI to make sure that these setups that is available, whatever the Abu Dhabi is doing or what we are doing here in Abu Dhabi, are safe and sustainable and always deliver to what is being designed for.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Sudhi, in terms of vision to improve the existing advancement of Abu Dhabi in terms of safety and building management, do you have a recommendation to make?
I think that's an interesting question because, and I know I've known Ibrahim for 4 years now. Our interaction really started from SIBCA 1. And a hallmark of his is his humility, right? Which is very admirable. But I think, having said that, I would also say that I would put it in through 3 different lenses. One, UAE as a country was, to the best of my knowledge, the first country to have an AI minister and had an AI policy and had a vision 2030, 2050, right? So it has always demonstrated leadership in terms of policy and thought leadership. And business leaders like Ibrahim have also taken that inspiration and created platforms and communities like SIBCA. So I think that from a policy, vision, governance, encouragement, and development of platforms, that's something which the world has a lot to learn from the UAE and Abu Dhabi in specific. I think the second dimension, what Ibrahim already touched about, right, the systems. Today, historically, UAE was an importer of technology. And specifically when it came to building technologies, we were importing from all kinds of large global companies. Now UAE has started to become an exporter of building technologies. And we are using some of them today in some of our global facilities as well, that Jared earlier touched upon, right? So taking a lot of the technology and practices created here, right? Some of the things which Ibrahim was talking about earlier in terms of the rapid deployment, right? Capabilities. Those are some things which also can be looked at it from how do we do knowledge sharing and export it more broadly. And third, building upon what he said, there are new developments because of AI, digitalization, and sustainability which are happening. And data centers is the great convergence of digitalization, AI, and energy transition, right? How to define the new frontiers of safety? And what does that mean for the rest of the world? I think those are the 3 different lenses I would encourage everyone to think through.
Thank you very much, Sudhi.